Hey, everybody, it's Dave Fingers with my good friend, the president and CEO of 3ACLEAN, Kyle Grivette. How are you today, Kyle?
Great, Dave. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty well. You know, last week we talked about golf, and you were telling me prior to we got on, you played golf on Wednesday, but it was a little windy, huh?
Friday it was Friday that was out there, and we were out there by DIA at Buffalo Run, and it was howling.
Yeah. And we were talking last week. This is kind of a good segue for this week. But last week we were talking about golf, and it's a good way to build relationships and get to know people. It's a form of networking in a really small quality environment. But knowing you over the years, I know that you've always been a big networker. We've been to some of the same networking groups. We've been to some of the same networking events, and I know when you were heavily involved in the chamber and you ran a program there for like 8 or 10 weeks, I was a part of that. So, but I know you are a huge networker. You've done a lot. You've built a lot of business over the years through networking. I was wondering if you could share with us or with me today what some of your best practices are when you're networking and building those types of relationships.
Well, I don't know. For me, I tend to not start pitching anything ever unless you ask me to. So I like to just meet people. I like to find out about them, kind of like on the playground when we were kids. It's like you're just asking questions, and hopefully the other person will start, engaging a little bit. But I like finding about them as people, but so many people really, they start going into what they do, and then things go into a pitch basically, and it's
Right?
like pitch.
It's interesting you say that because that type of behavior mirrors itself on LinkedIn. Obviously, you and I do a lot of work on LinkedIn, but I get a lot of invitations, and as soon as I accept, somebody's pitching their product or service to me, and you even went a step further. What's one of the things that you get frequently on LinkedIn?
So what I've noticed over about the past 6 or 8 weeks is that I'm getting people that want to connect and get into my network, but it comes with the pitch up front. And for me,
in the invitation,
right, and we haven't even connected or anything, in a little way or anything. So I tend to, if I'm being pitched right out of the gate, I tend to just pass by, go on by. I don't respond. I'm looking for people that want to connect as human beings first,
mm-hmm.
The relationship first. And then if there's business in there, that's great. Because as you know, and most people know, is that we're not going to do business with most of the people that we're connected with on LinkedIn. What we're going to wind up doing is doing business with people that they're connected to,
mm-hmm.
Somehow, some way. And that's usually how most networking works anyway. Chamber networking, you go to a happy hour, happy hour is meant to be happy. Let's have some fun. Let's let people get to know who we are, and we get to know who they are. And then if there's something there that we can work together on, that's great. But I prefer getting to know people first.
And when you think about LinkedIn, it really is like the largest networking event in the world that you can attend anytime you want. And you can see what everybody does before you talk to them, or what anyone does before you talk to them. So you really have to approach it just like networking, because that's what you're doing. You're networking online, and most people know. I will say that at a networking event, you don't go up to somebody and go, "Hi, I'm Dave. I sell widgets. You want to buy one?" But you get to know them, right? You have to do the same thing on LinkedIn. You make that connection. You build some trust and some rapport over time by posting good content, instead of connecting or trying to pitch your product or service right away. It's not a leads group.
Right.
It's networking at its finest, actually. And I'm the same way with you. If somebody starts pitching their product or service immediately as soon as I connect, I'm like, that's not the way to go. So it's a difference when you reach out to somebody on LinkedIn through an in-mail that maybe you're not connected to, just to see if they might be interested in what you have to offer. That's a little bit different. But the best practice is to build those relationships online and then
Yes,
eventually
totally.
take it offline.
Right. I totally agree. And I've met some great people on LinkedIn, and had, and it's been a little bit hard over the past 14 months, to really get to know somebody. It's much easier, when we were having coffee, having lunch, having a beer or two, something like that. That was much easier to get to know people. It's been, I think, a little bit more difficult for most. I think there are people out there that, like our friend Anson Ross Thompson. This guy is a Zoom warrior. I read him every day, and this guy has 2, 3, 4, 6, 7 Zoom meetings every day, and he's one of the guys that's thriving at this. Where I'm not as comfortable. I get kind of burned out after just a couple of these in a day.
Right.
Staring at myself and
Well, it's interesting because Anson does on Zoom today what he did in person before COVID. He would go out and have 4, 5, 6 meetings a day.
Yep.
And now he just does them on Zoom, and he just likes meeting people. And I think that's the key, because he meets people and gets to know them and builds a relationship, whether he meets them online or through network events. He's another big networker, for those that don't know Anson Ross Thompson.
Yeah. And if you don't, you should.
You should look him up on LinkedIn. He's a good guy to know. There we did. We just did some networking for Anson. Networking at its finest on LinkedIn. Good job. Well, cool. Well, keep up the good work. Keep up the networking. And I hope the people who are watching this finds this helpful today.
You bet. Thanks, Dave.
All right. Thanks, Kyle.